Huh. Rogue Warrior. Looks decent. Let's check it out. Rogue Warrior. First-person shooters, a genre that goes back even further than the classic Wolfenstein. It's also a genre that will, let's be honest here, never die, with tons of hit franchises like Call of Duty, Titanfall, Halo, Borderlands, Doom, and the aforementioned Wolfenstein.
I'd almost go so far as to say that the market is oversaturated with shooters. Not that I hate these types of games, but we get more of these games each year than we do sports. And I think that's due to the success of Halo and Call of Duty, which pretty much changed everything for shooters since its multiplayer was so successful and pretty much changed the game, making sure that every shooter afterwards only had successful multiplayer and really sorted out for a mediocre campaign.
Now, all of those titles I mentioned before are successful franchises because they understand what it means to be an FPS. But, let's be honest, for every hit title, there are like 5 ripoffs or shit titles. Most of them think that all you really need to do to make your game a success is to throw on some half-ass multiplayer, and then we'll go running to the clerk, throwing our money in their face to get the game. But it takes more than that. A game requires a personality, spirit, style, top-notch controls, and gameplay. All of that and more. And that's where the subject of today comes in. A game so foul that God himself sent it to the sinners who play games. I'm talking about the motherfucking Rogue Warrior.
Rogue Warrior is a first-person shooter that was published by Bethesda Softworks and developed by Rebellion Developments. It was released for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Microsoft Windows, and is actually based on the life of former Navy SEAL Richard Marcinko. Specifically based around a single infiltration mission in North Korea he went through that led to the death of his entire squad. Now, making an FPS set in a military setting has been done to death with games like Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, Spec Ops The Line, SOCOM Navy SEALs. I think you get the point. So really, what can Rogue Warrior bring to the table other than its gritty story? And I understand that making a game based on a veteran's life can sound pretty exciting, especially with one as interesting as Marcinko's. I mean, the man was the first commanding officer of SEAL Team 6 and Red Cell, so at first glance, I was intrigued by this.
But after you wipe the dirt off your face and shove this game in your system, you find nothing but misery and despair. It's like having your balls cut off and shoved down your throat. A fate worse than death.
This game had the audacity to ask for $60 day one, and as you'll soon find out, it's not even worth $6. In fact, funny story, you wanna know how much I paid for this game not counting tax? $1.60. Talk about getting your money's worth, am I right? Our story starts off with our hero, Richard Marcinko, or Rogue Warrior as that's his code name, is being flown into North Korea with his squad to retrieve intelligence from a mole.
And this is where the first problem with the game shows up. He never stops cursing. No, I'm serious. Within the first 3 minutes, he cursed more than a song written by Eminem.
Now, I'd like to point out that I have no problem with cursing in video games if it's not overused like in some movies or TV shows that think putting it in will make the show more mature. But that's exactly what happens. He's not cursing to express his anger or to set how serious the situation is. He's just cursing for the sake of cursing.
And the fact that he does it so much just feels immature.
After we're given a little introduction to Dick and his squad, they hit the ground and are almost immediately killed by a grenade, so it's up to Dick to continue his mission alone. This is where you finally get control of the game and we are introduced to the only cool mechanic in the game: execution moves. When you get up close to an enemy, the game will prompt you to press the A button, sending you to a small cinematic where you insta-kill them. You can do this for every enemy, and there are a handful of kills you can perform, but they quickly get monotonous. But you're going to need this because more times than not, the enemy will suicide charge you when you least expect it. After the first mission is complete, you find your mole just in time for him to be silenced by a bullet. Gathering what info you can scrap together, you head out by yourself to complete the mission and happen upon a missile defense system that could turn the tide of the war.
Oh no, what will we do? Thank God we have the Rogue Warrior. Yeah, okay, the story's not that exciting. I mean, the cliches just come at you a million miles an hour. And even Marcinko's attitude is running on fumes by this point.
I guess this would be a good time as any to talk about Marcinko himself. His character seems to be an attempt to rip off Duke Nukem with constant swearing, ridiculous one-liners, and the over-the-top gruffy voice. Or this is some hack writer's attempt at creating a shell-shocked war veteran. I'm sure that the actual Richard Marcinko is a much more interesting person, but here he's portrayed as some 80s typical douchebag. He's not funny, cool, just annoying and immature. By the way, that's Mickey Rourke doing the voice of Marcinko. I couldn't even imagine how they pitched the game to him.
His character is portrayed in the worst way possible. It's like if an alternate version of me came out with dark shades, a gruff accent, a sharp tongue, and a death wish. Damn, I don't even get a cool psychic for this review? Come on!
As you run through the game, you soon find out that the combat is very similar to Rainbow Six Vegas. First-person shooting with a cover system and easy-to-lose regenerating health along with semi-optional stealth sections. Except the difference here, and I know this may come as a surprise to a lot of you guys, but Rainbow Six was actually hard and fun in giving you the option of cover-based shooting instead of forcing it down your throat. Oh, and Rainbow Six had a good story, while this one, though based on a true story, is complete ass and is told in a boring and almost predictable way. The gameplay for Rogue Warrior is one of the most confused styles I've ever seen. For the most part, it's laid out as a first-person shooter with some stealth elements, but it contradicts itself by adding a cover-based system and some piss-poor health.
It's like they wanted to do a Gears of War ripoff, but were scared at the last minute that nobody would play it, so they just made it a first person.
This isn't a nitpick either. This ruins most of the game. It feels like a lot of the issues I have could have been fixed just by changing the camera to a third-person perspective throughout the entirety, instead of just being a first-person 90% of the time. Now you might be saying, well, if the game's mostly in first person, then why don't you stop using the cover-based system? Well, honestly, this wouldn't be a problem if the game didn't break the rules of how to make a proper first-person shooter.
Rule 1. Do not give the player a shit amount of health.
You see, in a game like Gears of War, you can get away with having a small amount of health since it's built around a cover system and your health comes back fairly fast. There are waist-high walls everywhere, and if someone gets in your face, you can leap backwards or beat them to death, or my favorite, the chainsaw. Or in a game like Wolfenstein or Shadow Warrior, you get the standard 100 points, but are able to regenerate it either through health packs, armor pieces, or a spell. In this game, however, you don't see your health, you just get the bloody screen when you're about to die, and it happens so much that getting behind cover really isn't an option. And no matter what difficulty you're on, you're constantly behind cover, which is a challenge in its own right since the cover system really doesn't work. It only seems to work when it feels like it.
Rule 2. Do not have enemies suicide charge you constantly.
It is vital that you keep your distance from the enemies in this game, since every time you get close they will run up into your face and shoot you with the biggest gat they got on them. Usually it's a shotgun. This basically discourages the idea of trying to flank around your opponent and get behind them, since you don't know who else is waiting in the back, further limiting the amount of strategy you get in this less than mediocre shooter. And yes, like I mentioned before, you can get out of cover to insta-kill them, but once you do, the others will immediately gun you down, making the one-button kills practically useless. And you might be wondering, why are they useless? Well, because when you use the insta-kills and everybody fires upon you, you still take damage, and possibly by the time you're done with the insta-kill, you die. That's fun, right?
Rule 3. If you're gonna have stealth, do not give out a million checkpoints.
Going back to Wolfenstein, in that game you got the option of using stealth in almost every mission. You could run through the levels, guns blazing, or sneak around the corner, or in the pipes, or on the ceiling, or in the vents with a silent pistol. You really felt like a soldier sneaking into an enemy encampment, where you could be spotted at any moment. Also, the checkpoint system was fair, not too scarce, but enough to punish you for dying. Here, stealth is basically crouch down when you spawn into the level and hope you don't get caught so you can get a few easy kills before the firefight starts. And if just one person sees you, no matter how far he is from the others, everyone knows exactly where you are. Oh, but don't worry, because this game hands out checkpoints like candy. I swear after every room I got a checkpoint. There must have been like 10 for each level. Okay, maybe that was an exaggeration, but that's what I felt like throughout. I mean, come on, the game was easy enough as it is, but with all these checkpoints, you might as well just give me invincibility. Though it might be better this way. I do prefer my shitty games to at least be easy.
Rule 4. Reloading your weapon should not be interrupted.
This is one of my biggest gripes with this unholy relic of shooters. You see, in any normal FPS, reloading is only interrupted by switching the weapon, throwing grenades, or occasionally getting shot. Well, Rogue Warrior thought that they needed to innovate and change that bullshit with something even worse. And here, if you move it all during your reload, it stops the animation and you gotta try it all over again. No, I'm serious. That's what it does. This got me killed so many times because I got shot and it ruined the animation. I moved to cover, it ruined the animation. I scratched my ass, it ruins the animation, and the gun didn't reload. It's a constant problem, a cancer from start to finish that you wish you could cut from your system, when the only thing you know you can do is accept your gruesome fate. Or just switch to a better game.
Rule 5. No difficulty spikes.
So, from level 1 to 6, I'd say the game was pretty fair. I mean, don't get me wrong, the AI was constantly a dick, but it never did anything that made me want to rage quit or eat puppies. That is until level 7 and 8, the final 2 levels of hell. Just ask Dante. In these 2 stages, there are major difficulty spikes where they throw a barrage of guys at you that have an unfair accuracy that can hit you a mile away. This is especially true in the final level where the way out is a 4-way fight out of the base where you're fighting a combination of snipers, suicide chargers, and jackass brutes that take a lot of hits, all of which have the strongest weapons in the game. I died so many times in this one section, and when you do die, you have to go all the way back to the first wave. It is just padding in the worst way possible.
I'll stop right there because I can go on for 20 more rules. Long story short, the game is frustrating, and in fact, I almost quit towards the end. And you know what? Speaking of the ending, it's one of the most anticlimactic endings to any game I've ever played.
The level design for this game is just ugly. I mean, sure, you get some variety in location from a base to a snowy mansion to a base at night. Okay, so it's not so much variety as it is a paint swap. There's like 5 different looking locations of the 8 missions. Oh yeah, did I mention that there's only 8 missions for the whole game? It also consists of very bland color of the rainbow and the absolute worst textures and lighting effects, so much so that some of this stuff could pass on the PS1. Also, fun fact, the game starts you on one of the lowest brightness settings, so I had to readjust this midway into the first level, and I didn't notice because it was a night stage.
Way to go, guys! How would you like it if I did the rest of the review like this? No.
Character models look average to below average, and in every aspect the game feels completely rushed and incomplete, like they only made 1/4 of the game and barely even finished that.
But hey, somebody thought this was good enough to ship out for the low price of $60. Go die in a fire.
There's literally nothing I can think about the visuals that are redeemable, and personally I think that this piece of shit looks worse than Ride to Hell. At least Ride to Hell had some form of style to it and was colorful instead of trying to be gritty and realistic. So there's something appealing to the graphics. Nothing of the sort can be said about Rogue Warrior over here, so let's skip ahead and talk about the music.
Oh god. This game made me compliment Ride to Hell. I think I'm gonna be sick. Oh. Next.
The music in this game is pretty forgettable. I couldn't hum you one track if you asked me right now. There is no intense feeling or any excitement when the firefights begin. I wish the music was loud, out of tune, or just something to leave an impression on me. But honestly, it could fall right into the darkest depths of gaming soundtracks, as it sounds as if it was pulled right from a generic library of royalty-free music. The only interesting track is the one that plays after you beat the game during the credits. It's a remix of a hip-hop track with some of Mickey Rourke's lines thrown in. I found it pretty funny. In fact, if the rest of the game had the same tone as this track, I might have had a better time playing the game.
I haven't even mentioned the glitches yet, because I thought I'd save the worst for last. There was one where I was hiding behind cover and somebody was actually hitting me because the bullets were clipping through the wall, and then he just ran up from the corner and killed me. Or there was one when I was stuck on a piece of cover and I had to kill myself with a grenade. There was a reoccurring glitch where I was getting shot through the walls and it forced me into first person because the bullets, they just kept clipping the edges and got me in the head. The hitboxes, by the way, are just terrible.
The history of this game is pretty confusing, but honestly makes sense after reading the terrible scores from just about every publication imaginable. Originally slated for 2007 as Rogue Warrior Black Razor and developed by Zombie Studios, the same company responsible for Spec Ops, and the decent Saw 1 and 2, and more recently, Daylight. Zombie originally wanted the game to have an original story with Mursinko heading into present-day North Korea with his squad to stop a nuclear launch, potentially causing World War III. I'm going to tell you right now that Zombie's version, the more I read it, it looked better and better than what the finished product came out as. I mean honestly, 4-player co-op, drop in and out, 24-player competitive multiplayer, plus the gameplay sounds like it would have been much more exciting. But unfortunately, Bethesda said they hated the final product of Zombie, and given their average 6 to 5 rated games, I can understand how they might be disappointed, but instead of taking the project head on, they gave it to Rebellion, who prior to Rogue Warrior had made a Dart game on the Wii and Shell Shock 2. Not exactly the team I'd pick after writing those games. What's funny is that after Rogue Warrior, Rebellion went on to make Alien vs. Predator, Never Dead, Sniper Elite V2, and Zombie Army Trilogy. So really, I'd blame it more on a rushed development. Nevertheless, Rogue Warrior has built up a reputation as one of the worst video games ever made, being criticized for being too short, around 2 hours, horrid gameplay, and excessive foul language.
In the end, Rogue Warrior is absolutely one of the worst games I have ever played. Bad graphics, terrible story, mediocre music, and gameplay elements so sinful that they make you want to just tear out your hair. So before I rate the game and end the episode, I have a request for everybody, so please do listen. Go out to the store, buy every $2 copy of this game you can find, and burn it, okay? Burn it to nothing but ash. Then water that ash down to muck. Then bury it 12 feet deep below the earth. Then maybe we can start moving forward as a species. So, in the end, I'll give Rogue Warrior a 1 out of 10. I'll see you guys next time. And I'll make sure you never see the light of day. Okay, I just gotta hide it here, and nobody will ever find it again. It's buried here. Okay. Hello, this is Eugene, the Universal Gamer. I am speaking this tape to you as a warning to everyone. What I have done should never be repeated by the history of mankind. I found a game that is completely unholy, and I have hidden it from all of you for your own protection. And I urge you, do not go seeking this game. Do not go playing it, no matter what you have heard in the rumors, no matter what you have heard, what you've seen today. Never play the Rogue Warrior. This is my message to you. And if anybody does,
May God help us all.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review as much as I did making it. And if you want to see more, then go ahead and subscribe. I've got some anime game reviews, like one for Dragon Ball Z Budokai and one for Bleach the Shattered Blade. Or if anime's not your thing, I've also got a few others. There's my House of the Dead Overkill review and my Resident Evil Survivor review. So yeah, plenty of options. And I've also got other kinds of reviews, like my King Game reviews, where I do vlog style reviews for games of the 8th generation, and also my Quick and Easy reviews, which are just as they sound. They're shorter, more simplistic versions of my Universal Gamer reviews, so if you got 1 to 4 minutes, you can enjoy that. Also, if you like watching other people review games, go ahead and check out Derek64. He's a great guy, has made some amazing reviews, like one for Animal Crossing, very funny, and another for Dying Light, very informative, so you're getting a bit of both worlds with him. He also does top 10s, let's plays, and even some unboxings, so yeah, check him out. And one more time, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.